Have you ever watched an old, majestic oak tree in a storm? It doesn't snap or break at the first gust of wind. Instead, its decline is a slow, almost imperceptible process. A branch here, a patch of thinning leaves there. One day, you look up and realize the formidable giant you've known your whole life has changed. It's still standing, still proud, but its strength is different now. It wears the signatures of 1,000 storms. This is, in many ways, the human experience of aging past 70. It's rarely a single, dramatic event that changes everything. More often, it is a series of quiet, creeping shifts that can, if you are not prepared, slowly break down the fortress of your confidence, your independence, and your sense of self. Even for those who have lived a life of discipline, who ate their vegetables, went for their daily walks, and kept their minds sharp, the seventh decade brings with it a unique set of challenges. These aren't the loud, headline-grabbing diseases we're often warned about. They are the silent saboteurs, the subtle thieves of vitality that can work their way into your life without announcement. This conversation isn't meant to inspire fear, quite the opposite. It is an invitation to look at the realities of this chapter of life with open eyes, armed with the wisdom and foresight to navigate it with strength and grace. We are going to explore 7 of these profound changes, not as signs of failure, but as guideposts. Each one is a message from your body and mind signaling a need for more care, more patience, and a more intentional way of living than ever before. Understanding these signs is the first, most crucial step toward protecting your dignity, maintaining your independence, and continuing to live a life rich with purpose. Let us begin with one of the most fundamental shifts, something that underpins nearly every physical action you take: the quiet decline of muscle strength. You might first notice it in the small, almost trivial moments of your day. Perhaps it's the stubborn lid on a pickle jar that refuses to budge, a task you once conquered without a second thought. Or maybe it's the way a full gallon of milk feels surprisingly heavy as you lift it from the grocery cart into your car. It could be the slight hesitation you feel at the bottom of a flight of stairs, calculating the effort required to reach the top. This isn't a reflection of laziness or a sudden lack of willpower. It's a natural, biological process known within the medical community as sarcopenia, a gradual and persistent loss of muscle mass and function that accelerates as we age. The real danger of this weakening isn't just about a diminished ability to lift or carry objects. Its effects ripple outwards, touching every aspect of your physical autonomy. Your balance, which relies on a complex network of core and leg muscles, becomes less reliable. Your posture may begin to stoop as the muscles supporting your spine lose their endurance. This creates a precarious new reality where the risk of falling becomes a constant, unwelcome companion. Statistics from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, often referred to as the CDC, paint a stark picture. Falls are the leading cause of injury and injury-related death among adults aged 65 and older in the United States. A simple misstep on a throw rug or an uneven patch of sidewalk can lead to a fractured hip or a traumatic head injury, setting off a cascade of hospital stays, rehabilitation, and a potential loss of independence from which some never fully recover. Consider the story of a man named Frank, a 73-year-old retired carpenter from Ohio who had always taken immense pride in his self-sufficiency. For decades, his hands were his livelihood, strong and capable. He spent his retirement in his workshop, crafting beautiful furniture for his grandchildren. But as the years passed, he noticed his grip wasn't as firm. A heavy hammer felt unwieldy. One afternoon, while reaching for a tool on a high shelf, he felt a flicker of instability in his legs. He didn't fall, but the moment spooked him. He started avoiding tasks that required climbing a stepladder or lifting heavy planks of wood. This caution, born of fear, began a vicious cycle. The less he challenged his muscles, the weaker they became. The workshop that was once his sanctuary slowly transformed into a museum of things he used to be able to do. The psychological toll of this decline can be just as debilitating as the physical one. When you begin to doubt your body's ability to perform everyday tasks, a seed of hesitation is planted. That hesitation can grow into a thicket of fear, preventing you from engaging with the world. This is how independence begins to erode, not with a bang, but with the quiet whisper of self-doubt. The encouraging truth, however, is that this is not an irreversible destiny. The human body retains a remarkable capacity for adaptation, even in later life. Gentle strength training with resistance bands, regular walking, and a diet rich in protein can significantly slow the progression of sarcopenia and even help rebuild some of what has been lost. Recognizing this quiet loss of strength for what it is, a call to action, gives you the power to fight back before it breaks more than just your body. If you've ever had a moment where you felt your own strength surprise you, either by its presence or its absence, please share that story in the comments below. Your experience could be incredibly validating for someone else going through the same thing. Parallel to this physical shift is a more subtle, internal one that can feel even more unsettling: the slow fading of memory and mental sharpness. This isn't the sudden, terrifying darkness of severe dementia, but rather a gradual dimming of the lights. It might manifest as you grasping for a familiar name that seems to be dancing just on the edge of your consciousness. You might find yourself standing in the middle of the kitchen, completely blanking on what you came in for. These moments of forgetfulness are a universal part of the human experience, but after 70, they can occur with a frequency that begins to feel alarming. You start to question yourself, wondering if you are still the sharp, capable person you have always known yourself to be. The brain, much like a muscle, undergoes changes with age. The speed at which neurons communicate can slow down, and the process of encoding and retrieving new information may become less efficient. Some describe it as a persistent mental fog that makes complex decision-making feel exhausting. Tasks that were once automatic, like managing household finances or following a new recipe with multiple steps, can suddenly feel like monumental challenges requiring immense concentration. This gradual erosion of cognitive ease can profoundly chip away at one's sense of control. And when that feeling of being in command of your own mind begins to slip, confidence often follows close behind. Think of Eleanor, a 78-year-old retired librarian from Vermont. Her entire life and identity were built around words, books, and the swift, organized recall of information. She was the matriarch of her family's Trivial Pursuit games, a formidable opponent in Scrabble. But recently she began noticing changes. She would lose her train of thought in the middle of telling a story to her grandchildren. Recalling the plot of a novel she had just finished became a struggle. What troubled her most wasn't the mistakes themselves, but the flash of embarrassment she felt when she saw a flicker of impatience or pity in the eyes of others. She started to speak less at family gatherings, preferring to listen rather than risk stumbling over a word or losing her place. The silence that replaced her once vibrant contributions was a testament to the confidence that had been stolen from her. The danger here extends beyond social awkwardness. It can impact personal safety, leading to forgotten medication doses, a stove left on, or missed doctor's appointments. These small slips can accumulate, creating real risks that threaten not only independence, but also the peace of mind of the entire family. Psychologically, this cognitive slowing can trigger a deep-seated fear, the fear of losing one's identity, of becoming a burden. This anxiety can sometimes cause seniors to withdraw from mentally stimulating activities, which is precisely the opposite of what the brain needs. Staying engaged is one of the most powerful weapons against decline. Learning a new skill like painting or playing an instrument, engaging in lively debates, and maintaining strong social connections all help to build and maintain cognitive reserve, keeping the mind more resilient. If you're finding this exploration of life's later chapters valuable, and you want to ensure you don't miss our future discussions, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell. Your support allows us to continue creating content that matters. As the internal framework of muscle and mind adapts to the passage of time, so too does the very skeleton that holds us upright. One of the most common and physically tangible ways life can begin to feel more challenging after 70 is through the weakening of bones and the stiffening of joints. Decades of movement, walking, running, lifting, bending, inevitably leave their mark. The cartilage that once provided smooth, painless cushioning between our bones begins to thin and wear away. Conditions like osteoarthritis become increasingly prevalent, turning once simple movements into sources of chronic pain and stiffness. Suddenly, the joyful act of kneeling down to play with a grandchild on the floor is preceded by a strategic calculation of how you will manage to get back up. Climbing a familiar flight of stairs can feel like ascending a mountain, each step a negotiation with aching knees or a protesting hip. The physical discomfort, however, is only one layer of the experience. The more insidious effect is how this chronic pain reshapes behavior. In an effort to protect themselves from further pain, many seniors begin to instinctively limit their movement. They avoid long walks, turn down social invitations that require too much standing, and gradually shrink their physical world. But this self-preservation tactic often backfires. A body in motion stays in motion, and a body at rest tends toward further stiffness and weakness. When you stop moving, muscles atrophy, flexibility decreases, and the very problem you are trying to avoid, pain and instability, often gets worse. The fear of falling, already present due to muscle weakness, is now amplified by the reality of stiff, unreliable joints. Each cautious step becomes a reminder of the body's newfound fragility. Let me tell you about Edward, a 72-year-old from North Carolina who had cultivated a magnificent rose garden for over 40 years. It was his pride and joy, a living tapestry of color and fragrance. But as arthritis settled into his lower back and knees, the simple acts of weeding, pruning, and bending became agonizing. He found himself spending more time looking at his garden from the porch window than working in it. The physical challenge was draining, but what truly began to break his spirit was the loss of joy. The garden, once a source of profound satisfaction and a connection to nature, was now a constant, painful reminder of what his body could no longer do with ease. The psychological weight of this decline can be immense. It's not just the pain itself, but the relentless awareness of your own physical limitations. This awareness can lead to a form of self-imposed house arrest, where the perceived safety of home becomes a comfortable prison, leading to social isolation and depression. It is a cruel irony that gentle, appropriate movement is one of the most effective treatments for the very condition that makes movement so difficult. Activities like swimming, tai chi, or gentle stretching can help maintain joint flexibility, strengthen supporting muscles, and reduce pain. Recognizing that your body requires a new approach to movement is a critical act of self-compassion. It's about learning to work with your body, not against it, to preserve the freedom of movement that is so essential to a vibrant life. Have you found a form of gentle exercise that has helped you or a loved one stay active? Please share your suggestions in the comments. It could be a game changer for someone reading this. There is another change that often occurs in the shadows, one that many find difficult to discuss even with their closest confidants, yet it can profoundly impact one's sense of self after 70. This is the decline of what can be broadly termed sexual energy or vitality. This isn't solely about the physical act of intimacy, but about a fundamental life force that, for many, is intertwined with confidence, desire, and a feeling of being alive and connected to the world. For much of life, this energy is a given, a warm, glowing ember at the core of our being. Its gradual dimming can feel like a profound and personal loss, a fading of a light you never imagined would flicker. Biologically, this shift is rooted in hormonal changes. As the body ages, production of hormones like testosterone and estrogen naturally decreases in both men and women. This can lead to a lower libido, reduced stamina, and other physical changes that can make intimacy more challenging. But the physical aspect is often the smaller part of the equation. The psychological and emotional toll can be far heavier. A man might begin to question his masculinity and virility, mourning a part of his identity that had always seemed constant. A woman may wonder if she is still seen as attractive or desirable, leading to a painful blow to her self-esteem. These deeply personal insecurities can create a chasm of unspoken frustration and embarrassment between partners who have shared a lifetime of closeness. The silence that so often surrounds this topic is perhaps its most destructive element. When couples are unable or unwilling to talk about these changes, they can misinterpret them. A wife might perceive her husband's lack of initiation as a rejection of her, not as a result of his own physical changes and insecurities. A husband might feel so ashamed of his changing body that he withdraws emotionally, leaving his partner feeling lonely and confused. This silence can erode the very foundation of a relationship, replacing intimacy with distance. The impact of this declining vitality extends beyond the bedroom. This energy is often linked to our overall motivation, our drive, and how we present ourselves to the world. When it fades, you may find yourself with less enthusiasm for socializing, for dressing up, or for pursuing hobbies that once made you feel vibrant. It can be as if a vital color has been removed from the palette of your life, leaving things feeling a bit more muted and gray. Consider the quiet confession of Linda, an 80-year-old widow from Arizona, who shared that as her own interest in romantic connection faded, she began to feel invisible, not just to others, but to herself. She realized it was never just about sex. It was about feeling seen, feeling vibrant, feeling like a complete person. Without that energy, she struggled to connect with her own sense of worth. But within this challenge lies an opportunity for profound growth. While the fiery passion of youth may evolve, it can transform into something equally beautiful and meaningful. Connection can take on new forms. Tenderness, emotional intimacy, shared laughter, and simple, affectionate touch can become the cornerstones of a deep and satisfying bond. Intimacy can become less about performance and more about presence. Acknowledging this change openly, with honesty and acceptance, prevents it from breaking your spirit. It is a powerful reminder that while the expressions of love and vitality change throughout our lives, the fundamental human need for connection, touch, and belonging never truly fades. If this particular point resonates with you, and you believe it's a conversation worth having, let us know by simply typing the number 4 in the comments. It's a quiet way to show solidarity and acknowledge the importance of this sensitive topic. Building upon the challenges of weakening muscles and stiffening joints, we arrive at one of the most immediate and frightening realities of aging past 70, the loss of steady balance and easy mobility. What was once the most unconscious of acts, walking across a room, rising from a chair, navigating a crowded sidewalk, can transform into a series of conscious, deliberate, and sometimes perilous maneuvers. The body's intricate systems that govern balance begin to lose their precision. The reflexes that once allowed you to instantly correct a misstep slow down. The inner ear, which plays a crucial role in our sense of equilibrium, can become less reliable. The world, in a very literal sense, can begin to feel like a less stable place. This decline often announces itself in small, unnerving ways. You might feel a momentary wobble when you turn your head too quickly, or a brief sense of unsteadiness when you step off a curb. But these minor incidents are warnings. Over time, they can escalate into falls, and as we've discussed, a single fall can be a life-altering event. The physical consequences, from a broken hip to a concussion, are severe enough, but the psychological fallout is often what causes the most lasting damage. A person who has experienced a significant fall often develops a condition known as post-fall anxiety syndrome. They begin to live in a state of constant, heightened fear of it happening again. This fear dictates their every move. They walk with a shuffling gait, eyes glued to the ground. They grip furniture as they move through their own home. They turn down invitations to go out because the unpredictable terrain of the outside world feels too threatening. This hyper-caution, while understandable, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The less you move, the weaker your leg and core muscles become. The less you challenge your balance systems, the more they deteriorate. It's a downward spiral that can swiftly strip away independence and confine a person to an ever-shrinking world, breaking both body and spirit. Imagine Robert, a 76-year-old amateur birdwatcher from Oregon. His greatest joy was hiking the trails near his home, binoculars in hand. After tripping on an exposed tree root and badly spraining his ankle, his confidence was shattered. He told his family that the trails were too dangerous, but the truth was, he was terrified. He missed the fresh air, the thrill of spotting a rare warbler, the simple peace of being in nature. His world became smaller, not because his body was incapable, but because fear had taken root in his mind. The loss of mobility also carries a heavy social and emotional price. The need to ask for help with basic movements, like getting into a car or navigating a restaurant, can feel deeply humiliating for someone who has been self-reliant their entire life. Adopting a cane or a walker, while a profoundly wise and necessary step for many, can feel like a public declaration of frailty. And yet, the alternative, stubbornly refusing help and risking a catastrophic fall, is far worse. The daily battle between preserving pride and ensuring safety is exhausting. But here, too, lies a path forward. Recognizing that balance and mobility are fragile is not an admission of defeat. It is an act of strategic preparation. It allows you to take proactive steps, such as practicing balance exercises, making your home safer by removing hazards, and embracing assistive devices not as symbols of weakness, but as tools of empowerment. Accepting support rather than resisting it is often the very thing that allows a person to maintain their independence for longer and more safely than stubborn pride ever could. Just as our physical steps can become less certain, so too can the pathways of our thoughts. Another quiet challenge that can erode confidence after 70 is the gradual decline in the ability to maintain sharp focus. You might notice this in seemingly insignificant moments that begin to add up. You set down your reading glasses and 30 seconds later have absolutely no recollection of where you put them. You're in the middle of a lively conversation and suddenly lose the thread, the point you were about to make dissolving into thin air. At this stage of life, these cognitive slips become more frequent, and while they may be harmless on their own, they carry a heavy emotional weight, making you feel less sharp and less in control. The ability to concentrate for extended periods can wane. Trying to read a dense book can become a frustrating exercise in rereading the same paragraph over and over because your mind keeps drifting. Following a fast-paced movie plot or a conversation with multiple people talking at once can feel overwhelming, like trying to listen to several radio stations at the same time. Complex, multi-step tasks that you once handled with ease can now feel like intricate puzzles that drain your mental energy. Imagine Eleanor, the retired accountant from Pennsylvania we spoke of earlier, who once prided herself on her meticulous attention to detail. Now, balancing her own checkbook, a task she once did in minutes, feels like a slog. She finds herself making simple arithmetic errors, getting distracted, and having to start over. Each time this happens, a small piece of her identity as a competent, sharp-minded woman feels like it's being chipped away. What makes this decline particularly painful is how it can be perceived by the outside world. Well-meaning friends and family may grow impatient, finishing your sentences for you or repeating information in a slightly too loud, patronizing tone. They might mistake your difficulty focusing for a lack of interest or engagement, leading to feelings of being misunderstood and dismissed. Over time, a senior who was once a vibrant contributor to conversations can begin to feel like a bystander in their own life. When your self-esteem is wounded in this way, the natural inclination is to retreat, to choose silence over the risk of making a mistake or appearing slow. But again, this is not a foregone conclusion. The brain's ability to focus can be trained and strengthened, much like a muscle. Minimizing distractions, practicing mindfulness or meditation, breaking down large tasks into smaller, manageable steps, and ensuring you get adequate sleep can all make a significant difference.
It is crucial to remember that while the speed of processing might change, it does not erase a lifetime of accumulated wisdom. The ability to see the bigger picture, to offer perspective born of experience, and to provide patient counsel are powerful cognitive strengths that often deepen with age. If these insights are resonating with you and you feel they provide a valuable perspective, help us spread this message by liking the video and sharing it with someone you care about. Every share helps our community grow. All of these threads, weakening muscles, faltering memory, aching joints, shifting vitality, and unsteady balance, weave together into the final and perhaps most profound challenge, the increasing fragility of independence. For most of our adult lives, independence is the bedrock of our identity. It is the quiet pride in knowing you can manage your own life on your own terms. It's driving your own car, paying your own bills, cooking your own meals, and making your own decisions. When this foundation begins to show cracks, it can feel as though your very sense of self is in jeopardy. This loss often happens incrementally. It begins with needing help to read the fine print on a medicine bottle. Then it might be giving up driving at night. Soon, you might need someone to carry the heavy groceries in from the car. Each of these small concessions, each time you have to ask for assistance for a task you once performed effortlessly, can feel like a tiny surrender. It's not just about the physical limitation, it's about the emotional sting of dependency. For a generation that was often defined by its work ethic and self-reliance, having to rely on others can stir up complex feelings of guilt, frustration, and even shame. The inner monologue becomes a painful one. Am I becoming a burden? Am I losing control? For many, this fear is more terrifying than any physical ailment. There is another, more subtle layer to this experience. As your independence weakens, the world around you may begin to treat you differently. Well-meaning children might start making decisions for you, for your own good, sometimes without consulting you first. Doctors might address your adult child instead of you during an appointment. A store clerk might speak to you with exaggerated slowness and simplicity. This shift in perception, this infantilization, can be more damaging than the physical limitations themselves because it directly attacks your dignity and self-respect. Think of Charles, a 79-year-old retired plumber from Texas who had spent his life fixing things. He was the family's go-to handyman. One day, his daughter noticed a small leak under his kitchen sink. Fearing he might slip on the wet floor or strain his back, she insisted on calling and paying for a professional plumber, despite his protests that he could easily handle it. To his daughter, it was an act of love and concern. To Charles, it felt like a vote of no confidence. It wasn't about the sink, it was about being told implicitly that he was no longer capable. That moment left him feeling diminished, not because he lacked the skill, but because his independence was being redefined for him by someone else. Yet even here, there is profound resilience to be found. True independence in the later chapters of life may need to be redefined. It may no longer mean doing everything by yourself. Instead, it can mean maintaining the power of choice, the dignity of having your voice heard, and the right to direct your own care. It is about learning to accept help gracefully without surrendering your identity. The ability to adapt, to delegate tasks while retaining authority over your life, is the key to preserving your spirit. Independence is fragile, yes, but your identity can remain powerful if you choose to see yourself not as less, but as evolving. As we draw this reflection to a close, it becomes clear that the journey past 70 is not for the faint of heart. It presents challenges that none of us can entirely escape. We have walked through 7 of these quiet realities: the decline of muscle strength, the fading of memory, the fragility of our bones and joints, the shifts in our inner vitality, the erosion of balance, the wavering of focus, and the precarious nature of independence. Each one carries a significant weight, not just for the body, but for the soul. Yet seeing them clearly, without illusion, is not a cause for despair. It is a source of power. To know what may lie ahead is to have the opportunity to prepare, to strengthen what you can, to adapt where you must, and to face the future with courage rather than fear. It is essential to reframe these changes. They are not signs that you have failed or that life is over. They are simply signs that you are human, that you have lived a long and full life. Every wrinkle on your face, every ache in your joints is a testament to a story, a chapter in a rich and complex narrative. What matters most is not how we avoid these truths, but how we meet them, with grace, with wisdom, and with a fierce determination to continue living on our own terms for as long as possible. So, as you think about what we have discussed today, ask yourself, which of these resonates most with you right now? Is it a physical change, a mental shift, or the evolving nature of your place in the world? Whatever it is, know that small, intentional steps taken today can build a stronger, more resilient tomorrow. You are far more resilient than you realize. Even in the face of decline, you carry within you the unshakable power to adapt, to find new sources of joy, and to continue to be a beacon of strength and wisdom for those who will follow in your footsteps. Thank you for spending this time with us today. Your presence and attention are deeply appreciated. We would be honored to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and share one insight you gained today, and perhaps how you plan to apply it in your own life or in supporting a loved one. Your thoughts and experiences are the lifeblood of this community. Reading your stories gives us immense motivation. If you found this video to be helpful and meaningful, please show your support by giving it a like, subscribing to our channel, and sharing it with others who might benefit. Your support enables us to continue creating thoughtful content designed to inform and inspire. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.